Devin Pike with the Dallas International Film Festival, here with the cast and crew of Produce. First off, guys, thanks for coming to the festival, and talk a little bit about your experience working with this film.
I really thought, no, I thought that it was really cool.
It's a gold content. I killed it, Madden Cage.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, he was really
The
cool.
producer was the accountant.
You know,
You heard that joke, huh?
we shot it in Louisville well, and
Every day.
yeah, it was fun.
Fiction was like so deep.
He wrote a good story.
And yes, Milan is the best of the best producer ever.
Yeah.
Well, great talk, guys. Thank you very much for coming. We'll see you guys in the film. Sincerely, it's a powerful flick. Thanks for bringing it to the festival first, Chris. And it's good to meet you again for the first time. And thanks for the caffeine and the cookies. They helped a lot with the prep for the interview.
Tiff Streets.
Talk a little bit about your approach to the material. Was this a story that you could have seen yourself even making 5 years ago when you were starting out as a filmmaker?
Yes, because the original draft I probably did write 5 years ago. We wrote it in Milan and I were just talking about it. It was 2009 is when Milan and I were working on a different project, and this kind of popped up, and I gave this to Milan and my business partner Jose, and we all kind of really got into it, and we started developing it more, and and it's a long process. We had some kind of starts that then stopped that we thought were going to happen to make the film happen in different places, and then finally, it came to fruition.
Is there one point, because films are a marathon. They're never a sprint. You hear movies that are shot in 12 days and they blocked it out into 3, and every single other person who's made a film just looks at it and says that can't even be true. Was there a point during the development process where you're looking and going, I'm never going to be able to put this thing to film?
No, I don't. I don't. I think it was so cool because the way Louisville opened up to us, and they made everything so accessible. The biggest problem was trying to get from different locations, realizing we have enough time to get to location. But at the end of the day, by the shooting style that we did and the fact that we had such good actors, it really was we didn't have to sit there and do 100 takes or and the camera's just kind of free floating. It's a very observational camera. So it wasn't a lot of technical. You know what I mean. I knew it was going to be a lot of technical stuff. Where it was oh, I got to get this perfect thing. It was the camera's finding the action, and they were so real. The actors were so real and so good that we really moved through our days pretty quickly, and it was great. And we got good stuff. But it was there's some days where I remember turning to Alex Lehman, my DP, and I go, I think we have that scene. We just got that, and it's all right. Milan probably doesn't remember any of those days.
No. Well, the last day we finished at lunch, and then he was like, "We're done," and I was like, "No, we still have these people for half a day. Make them do something. You sure you have everything?" So
make them do something.
We're paying you people by the day. This isn't an hourly rate. David, talk a little bit about when you first got the script for Produce, when you were looking at it. What were your reactions as you're going through your part for the film?
Well, it was close to 200 lines, about 185 to 197 the lines in total. And the way I looked at it was overwhelmed and too much, but that's the reason why I had to work on it even before we started to film the movie in a hotel in Louisville, Kentucky, of which I met Chris Palaha and Chris Dowling and Alex Lehman and a little bit of Milan and Chakraborty.
There's never a little bit.
But I had to work the most with Palaha and Dowling on it before the movie was filmed, because there are so many things that has to be done in a short amount of time, and I had to get through it all before the short amount of time that ended.
Yeah, and can I just speak on one part of that is David had never acted before, period. So when we first sat down,
he tells a completely different story.
This was David's first film. He's never acted before. So when he sat down, and it might have been overwhelming, but then when you watch the actual finished product, the growth that he had was phenomenal. I mean, it's amazing. Like, you watch it and he steals the show. Like, you're like, this guy is so good, and he is good. But that was an amazing feat by, I feel like, any actor. And like, it's, we talk about like the limitations that, Milan always says, like, the only limitations that people with Down syndrome have are what we put on them. And that's kind of how it started out. Like, or even when I first met him, I slid him the script and I was like, can you even read all of this? Because I didn't know. And he's like, Dowling, da 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 da. And then he blows through it. And then, from where we ended up, man, I mean, it was amazing. Like, he's a great actor. Like, not a great actor with DS or anything. He's a great, great actor.
And the funny thing is that Dave and I were speaking earlier today before we started, and you actually have a tie with one of the other films at this festival, Little Accidents.
Yes, I did. And I tried out for an audition that I tried out for the Down syndrome role in the movie, and I just seen the screening of it before I had to pick up my sister from the airport. And it was intense, extremely tantalizing and intense, and it was more serious than this movie that I just gotten, that I've seen the screening of last night, because those people that in Cincinnati that I tried out had connections to Milan and probably even Blake Grew or even Seb Ohanian. Then those three mentioned this person as me to Chris Dowling. And Chris Dowling absolutely convinced me to audition and to try out for this movie, Produce.
And you killed it, dude. You did awesome.
Thank you, Chris.
That was awesome.
Did you have to pay off the producers of Little Accidents to get those rights?
I did ace it.
You did ace it for sure.
And I did mastered it.
You mastered it, yes.
And I also had worked with the co-star of a star that I met down in Atlanta, Georgia. In Atlanta, Georgia, I met Selena Gomez, and I had worked with her co-star, McKinley Miller, in this movie.
And so here we are today, all of us here, talk about Produce.
Guys, talk about the experience of shooting in Kentucky, because it's not exactly, it's not known for film work. So the infrastructure might not be there from someplace like Louisiana or Texas or even New York or California. Were there challenges that you guys had with, working with a crew that might not have been as well versed? You're working with local folks as well as people that Chris is bringing in for the production.
No, I thought everyone was really good.
Yeah, I feel like our crew had experience too, right? Yeah. They had experience.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm not saying it's their first time on a movie set, but where the infrastructure.
Oh, you mean in terms of like Hollywood? Yeah,
exactly.
No, I thought everyone was really good. Everyone really worked well together, and everyone kind of bled together. To me, I know. I've made great friends with people. The second AD, Shep was amazing, and I didn't realize until like halfway through that he was from Louisville. I was like, I figured you were from like LA or something. You're out here doing this project. He's like, no, man, I'm from Louisville. I'm like, wow, you're really great, And I think the same could be said about everyone, at least in my experience.
70 to 80% of the crew was local Louisville hires, and
wow.
I was there for 5 weeks before I let anyone else come. They're like crazy, like I need to get out there and scout. And I was like, no, let me figure out how this place works, and and find who's good and who understands indie film and who kind of had the right mentality. Because on every film the kind of cohesion is important, but this one, we call it the Produce film family, and it's like you have to have the right mentality to come on. I don't just need a grip. I need a grip that's in it for the right reasons. And from Gil Holland, who's a co-executive producer, who he gave me an office, an apartment to stay at for 5 weeks, and about a month before we decided where we were going to shoot, I got a call from the mayor, and he was like, whatever you need, we're there for you. And I was like, that's exactly the kind of town we want to be a part of. And it shows up on screen, because Louisville looks like this beautiful, it's undiscovered kind of on film outside of horse racing, and we got a lot of unique looks.
Is there one experience you're going to take away from this film? Other, obviously, working with David is life changing in and of itself. And I love seeing you guys interact when you're just off. No cameras, no microphones. It's great seeing you guys interact and just have that mentality. It is. I know it's common to have that because it's a small army that puts together a movie like this. But is that bond a little bit stronger from this production and other productions you guys have done?
I definitely think it was. I've worked on a lot of productions where it's very, okay, this is my job. I'm here from blank to blank hours, and then I'm going to go home. But I felt like everyone was here, and like they were present. They were totally committed to getting the best that they could. And I mean, being with the same people for 4 weeks, you bond, and it was like my family. And I remember just coming home and getting in the car and driving back to my house, and I was like, started crying, and I was like, I miss Louisville, and I miss the crew and everybody. And so we were really, really tight by the end of it. And so I think it was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Well said.
Sorry, I just took over that.
Well, it was a unique experience for me because I kind of came in, as a supporting role and just kind of plugged into what was already happening. They'd been shooting for a couple weeks already, and I had the really cool experience of I'd worked with a large majority of the crew already on a film that I had done before. So to speak to the crew, I mean, I thought they were incredible. This is my second time working with them. But as far as the family aspect of this film, and it was so cool to come in and see the machine that was already running. From a business side, it was running so well. Creatively, you could come in and be real in the scene, and Chris was just going for realism and what felt right, and that was great. But from a family side, like, everybody was just so, first of all, obviously nice to each other and had that, but accepting of me, A lot of people I'd never met, I came in and they were already doing their thing, but they accepted me and allowed me to come in, not just creatively and from a business side, but also just, personally. And so that was very inviting, and I do think that shows up on the screen. I think that's that element and that chemistry that you see between the different characters, that's developed, while the camera's not running. And that was a very real thing that was just cool to, to kind of step into for a minute, and see.
Of the six of you, who has the best Zabka story?
Crit. Oh.
I've got a million Zapka stories probably.
I actually have a pretty good one.
I only know of only one.
Oh, well, knock it out.
Then, Bill Zebka was the villain that he was matched up against the Karate Kid and the original Karate Kid. And the version of the Karate Kid that I watched is not the one that he was in. Then,
That's not the good one, dude.
the one that I watched came out in 2010. The year that I graduated from high school. That was with Jaden Smith. And Bill Zebka is by inspiration of me doing karate and taekwondo.
That's a pretty powerful statement.
Yeah.
One thing when we were shooting, tried to do in every scene, for whatever reason, he thought it was hilarious to try and put on his sunglasses no matter where we're at. Like when the scene would start, I would look over and we'd have it all set up, and then he'd have his sunglasses on, like we'd be like in the bar, or like, and even in the there's a hospital scene, and he's laying in his bed, and I look over and he pops his head up mid-scene. We're shooting for like 3 minutes, and he's got his sunglasses on. So yeah, he was.
It was a good take too, wasn't it?
He also made a lot of fake posters for what he was
yeah.
like. He was like,
yeah,
I
that's
think this will
right.
be.
Yeah.
And it was cool because his arc on How I Met Your Mother was playing while we were shooting. So one day, like after he was done, like I go into the lobby and half my crew is sitting there watching a show of How I Met Your Mother. But it was like watching Billy Zabka play Billy Zabka as Billy Zabka. Like it was just like
mind blowing.
Inception.
Yeah.
Zabka Apocalypse 2014. Yeah. Guys, phenomenal film, and more importantly, the characters in this one are so deep. That was the one thing that I came away from it was it's not a cardboard cutout to be found on any of the parts. Great job, and David, phenomenal job. It's a pleasure to meet you. Talk a little bit about the future of this film once it clears the festival circuit. What can we see for?
Well, I mean,
when can they see produce if they're not lucky enough to get tickets for it?
Well, I would say one thing that we can do now is that, I mean, anyone that would like to see stories like this, and you can see the trailer at like www.improduce.com. But we just feel like this is an important story, and the more support we get, like from a grassroots standpoint, or like a people that rally behind this, because that's what we're already seeing, like in the audience and people that are responding to the trailer is, wow, that's my phone. I think over there it keeps beeping.
You owe us so many drinks.
It's for the tip streets. It's straight up. But anyways, is like going and supporting this. Like if you want to see a film like this, which we're very proud of, and we think it's important for not only to speak to the faith community or like the DS community, but it's a story that anyone can connect to, and that's what we're finding out. We need you to go support and tell people about it and check out the trailer. So that's a really important thing for now. In the meantime, while that's happening, Milan could probably speak of like the next steps.
And we'll probably change the name to Iron Man 4.
Very smart.
And that's exactly. It's like the more support we can build, and we're talking to organizations like Best Buddies and Special Olympics, and all of this is about integration and inclusion. And we made a movie, and what we want to do is really drive awareness to the great things people are doing, the great accomplishments people within the DS community have. And we've been asked to show the film at the National Down Syndrome Conference in Indianapolis in July. We've been asked to be in the Kentucky Derby Parade. Did you know that?
I did not even know that.
Yeah, we're trying to figure these things out. So
And I will be there for the parade. And the reason why I'll be there for the parade is because the Kentucky Derby is the the most holiday that I love to celebrate. Because that is the thunder of Louisville, the Kentucky Derby, everything. And my favorite song that I've always loved singing at my church is "This Is the Day," because the beginning of that song begins with a trumpet. And the trumpet is the trumpet that calls the horses to the post.
Wow.
And then ideally, in October would be a great time for us to come out. Like October's National Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and it's just like, once again, we're a part of a bigger story, and hopefully it inspires others. It inspires new parents to see just what their kids are capable of down the road. I know from speaking with a lot of parents, David's parents have done an incredible job. He has an incredible life. Every day he has like 16,000 activities, and he does taekwondo, he rows crew, he plays tennis, and he crushes.
Then he updates it on Facebook.
And then he updates it on Facebook, and then he makes a playlist. Then he has to go to bed. That's the ending to
Well, it sounds like with a day like that, David, you only get about 3 hours of sleep, man.
Actually, I don't. Because the average amount of an average American should get is 8 hours exact.
That's true.
Wow.
And
Well, I'm not hitting anywhere close to that
You're
either.
above average, dude.
And the reason why I'm above average is because back in high school I stayed up until 3:30 and went to bed at 3:45. But the actual event ended at 5 o'clock.
You're keeping about the same hours I am, man. That's wicked. Once again, I Am Produce is the film's website, and you can always find out info on our alumni films from the festival at dallasfilm.org. Guys, thank you so much for bringing this film, and thank you so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And cut.